members. So I have a community called the Woman Community, and it's where women who are ready to grow up and are hungry for a community. We have a platform all to ourselves where we engage in deeper work, darker work, unconscious work, all the work that gets in the way of humans playing a big game. Okay. And so there's quite a few women in there who are working on abundance. Most people, when they say abundance, they mean money. When I say abundance, I mean all of it. Yes, money, but all of it. How about abundance of help in your life? How about abundance of good people in your life? How about abundance of people who want to see you win? How about an abundance of good quality whole food? How about abundance of thought for your mind? How about your a mind that is abundant? You take everything out here that to everybody else looks like, girl, that don't look like a good idea, girl. You sure you can do that, girl? I don't know. Uh, but your mind is abundant. How about that? You're right, Selenia. It's like this coach, this eight-figure coach I know used to always say, 100% is possible 100% of the time. 100% is possible 100% of the time. When you really choose to look at everything like that, that can actually feel overwhelming because it's like, well, shit. I'll park that for now. So, anyway, this particular woman, if you're here, darling, you can say. She may join us here today. She's leveling up right now. She's leveling up financially. She's a mom. She has, I think, three boys, maybe four, three or four boys. And she's working on leveling up her money. And she's not the only one. And she posted in the group recently that it's been hard, the process of leveling up. And so I want to talk about what it takes to really move through the emotional parts of leveling up, the emotional parts, and which becomes physiological. That's what I like to talk about here today. And how everybody listening today, even if you're watching as a replay on YouTube, hello. How do you really move through this? People talk about leveling up and they give you all these techniques and things. And it's one thing to make an extra $1,000 this month or next month. But what about consistent results and the actual internal shifts that are sustainable, that are required for lasting results, where essentially your whole way of being shifts? Meaning who you are right now, listening to my voice, you are who you are. You're interpreting right now, listening to me, you have your own judgments and belief systems that make up your current reality. Thank you for liking the live, Debbie, right? Your current reality. What I'm talking about is what does it take inside of you? And what's going to happen on the way, emotionally, physiologically, and how to move through it so that you not only just make some extra money this month or next month, but who you are shifts in such a way where you start to regularly, sustainably make and keep good money. Make and keep good people in your life. Make and keep whatever it is that's most important to you. Okay? So, one, I'm an alchemist. So the perspective I'm going to give you is from the perspective of people who are working in darkness to produce results. Who are working in darkness to produce results. What do I mean? I mean telling the truth based on what you are consciously aware of in yourself And in that, what's hidden from you starts to bring itself into your space. Thank you for the over 2,000 hearts that we already have. Okay. So, in the work that I do with clients, we're always dealing first with what we can see, right? So, what can you see now? Well, my current financial reality is this. I'm afraid of. One woman said, I'm scared I won't be able to sustain the next level of power in my life. Like I know I can get there, but then will I be able to sustain all this once I unleash? Can I handle all this power that I'll be and what I'll create? Will I be able to sustain what I'll create? And okay, so all that is visible to you. Like you can name it, you're aware of it. Yeah. And then as you stay in that, what's hidden from you starts to come up, right? Anybody experienced with this? And if you're not, you will be when you make an intent that you're leveling up financially in all the ways that are important to you. If you have not experienced this already, you will. Because all we can work with is what we can see. And then from there, our darkness starts to come up. And that's where our greatest power is. Everything we can see, everything you're aware of, everything you're conscious of, anything that can come out of your mouth, anything that's in your mind, that's not where your greatest power is. Your greatest power is what's hidden from you, what's dark. And so, like the Carolyn Elliott, who says having is evidence of wanting, right? What you have right now, what your life looks like right now, is what you actually want. So we start. So anyway, when darkness starts to come up, okay, so for example, I remember when I first started intuitively doing shadow work in 2013, what came out that I didn't even know was there was how much I hated that white men had so much unearned attention. That was never in my conscious mind, never, never. But what happened in my interaction with white men is I would always get like just resistant with them. I always felt like, oh, there was always like this, but I didn't know like why are you dealing like this? With what why are you, right? And so that's how it lived in my reality. I wasn't aware until I decided I was going to level up. This is why I say on the way to how do you successfully move through true leveling up to where you're no longer having to, like so many people, is why I have don't quit up here. So I have don't quit up here. And this is why I told my community member, you have to build this muscle. This is why this community exists. You have to build this muscle because it is hard. Why do you think the the whatever percent the 1%, the 10%, why they only exist because they do what only they're willing to do. I told her, and I'm going to tell you all now while I continue along, is when you make the decision to level up, in whatever level way that looks for you, not everybody wants to be a millionaire. But when you're true, when I'm talking about big dreams. I'm talking about big goals. So you decide for yourself. There's a you that's required to become, and on that way, if you quit, just think about all the time you quit. If you quit, even if nobody else knows you quit, you know you've quit. And what happens is you quit and then you fall back into comfort and familiarity. Yeah? You're just like, girl, I don't know. I was just tired. I was just overwhelmed. Life start happening. Right? I know plenty of y'all been there. Girl, it was too much. Girl, I just, And then you go back into the comfortable life, right? Whatever that looks like. Sleeping, whatever. And then eventually you bore of comfort. You bore of familiarity. You're like, you're watching something that inspires you. you get some energy, something happens, and then you want to go at it again. There's a party that wants to go at it again. But what happens is you remember that you quit. You remember. And because you remember, you hang out in procrastination, afraid to move again, because you're like, I don't trust that I'm going to follow through. And for those of you who are coaches or you work with clients, and I've heard this from people before who say, I don't know if it's going to work for me. How many of you have said that about a coaching program? I don't know if it's going to work for me. I don't know if it's going to work for me. How many of you here have said that? I don't know if this is going to work for me. That's the shadow side of having a history of quitting on yourself. You say that because you know you haven't followed through in the past. So what you do is, because you're not in ownership of it, you project it onto the program. You're not in ownership of your behavior. This is how so many of us are out of power. You're just not in ownership of everything that's true all the time based on your decision making. And because you're not in ownership, you say, I don't think that is going to work for me. That's how you project it out. I don't think that program is going to work. I don't think this can work. I don't think that. When really, when it's reversed and you own it, you say, I don't think I'm going to follow through on that because I have a history of quitting. This is why I put don't quit up here. I didn't put it on YouTube, but up here on TikTok, I put don't quit or else. The or else is when you get your energy back or you're ready to go at it again. Now you're ready to make the money. Now you're ready to create the content. Now you're ready to get back in the ring with the business, with the everything. You're not going to trust yourself. Then you're going to feel stuck and you're going to feel miserable because now you need to break through a problem, a limitation that you created yourself by quitting. So now you need to get your mind into, okay, I know I quit 12 times before, but this time I'm going to do it. You got to break through that. So I'm here to tell you, one, you have to commit to getting to the other side of hard things. This is what I want to leave for you. For those of you who are currently inside of leveling up, those of you who are about to launch into your next program, your next project, your next level up, listen to me. Imagine what it looks like on the other side of hard. What does your life look like on the other side of hard? Who will you be on the other side of hard? What will your life look like? What will your money look like? What will your body look like? What will your self-confidence look like? What will your inner muscles look like on the other side of hard? And even bigger. Now, what I'm getting ready to say may not apply to most people here, probably doesn't apply to most people here. But who here, I'm curious to hear, who here has a dream that feels ridiculous for you to have it? Feels like I'm not qualified to do that. It feels unrealistic. Who here has a dream like that? Would you like to share it in the comments? Would you like to share? Go ahead and share it. And while you're thinking about sharing it or typing sharing it, I want to add an addendum here. Okay. Because I want to make a point here about big dream and following through. I know the common teachings online are move in silence. Yeah? Move in silence. Don't let, because when you start talking, People gonna put their negative thoughts on it, evil eye, doubt. That's the common teaching, right? Move in silence because people going, girl. So here's what I have to say to that, and this is it's true. You'll know. When you're doing something that is just a goal, just I don't know, buy a house, travel somewhere, do something, uh, and you're in the elementary stages of your muscle building and moving through hard things. Yes, I can understand the whole moving in silence thing. And it probably is a good idea if you are weaker, and I know weaker is subjective, but if you are weaker in dealing with external energies, evil eye energies, doubt energies, negative thoughts, if you are weaker in your muscle building, okay, perhaps. And what I would love to challenge you all on, for those of you here who say, yes, you have a big, ridiculous, seems unrealistic dream goal. When you truly, and this is why I said this is probably irrelevant to most of you here, which explains why only two people, who knows? Anyway, when you really embark, and this is a private decision you make, when you truly embark on the ridiculous, unrealistic goal that's been with you for 20 years, 30 years, that it'd be like, girl, this is God. This ain't me, it's God. Right? You hear women say, this ain't me, girl. This is when you truly embark on that thing, you can talk about that thing from the rooftops at the infancy stages. You can talk and blah, blah, blah. No evil eye can touch it. No negative thoughts and doubt can touch it because it's of your highness. These things that they tell y'all to move in silence about are basic things. Travel, don't tell them you want to travel to another country. Don't tell them you want to buy a house. You know what I mean? It's not of highness in the spiritual sense. Does this make sense? That's why it can even be attacked by evil eye. It's not, it's of the mundane, it's of humanness, it's of mortality. When you start dealing in highness, which most people are not, most people just want an extra $500 this month. You know what I mean? They just want a trip to Egypt. You know what I mean? They just want, that's why I said this, but I want to say that specifically because I work in highness. I mean, the shit don't even hit till you get to highness. All this other shit is just, you know. When you start dealing in highness, there are totally different laws and rules that govern things. When you're dealing over in mortal things, there are rules that govern it. So I just wanted to make that distinction for the 1% of you who are here today. You said, okay, that's for y'all. Okay, so that was the addendum. Now, let me bring it back to not quitting. Who are you? What is your life on the other side of hard? Okay, let's remember that. When darkness, when I say darkness, I mean your unconscious mind. Okay. When I say darkness, I mean all the deeper things inside of you that make you want to hide, play small, that make you want to continue to grip onto what's familiar. The thing that makes you, for those of you here who have started to create content or work on your book or whatever your project is, and you be on a roll for like 1, 2, 3 months, and then all of a sudden you just lock, you just freeze. You just, I don't know, I don't know, I just got overwhelmed. Anybody here? That is your darkness coming up. and you don't know how to move through it. Okay, this is. I just want to give an example of what darkness looks like when it's activated in your life, and it locks you. So then you're 33, 34, 35, 36. 10 years of your life go by, all because you don't know how to successfully move through your own darkness. Is this making sense? This is why you cannot judge people by age. It's another thing, reason why you can't judge people by age. To be like, girl, you 50. You ain't figured out what she doesn't know how to, she never knew how to navigate her own darkness. And to even be talking about darkness, the unconscious mind, evil, this is relatively new to even being talked about on the internet, particularly by Black people. So you lucky enough to be on the internet at a time where people talk about this stuff publicly. And this is why, have any of y'all like really questioned the fact that we can talk about how the earth has been around for millions of years. Let's just talk about the last 1,000 years. Millions of years. Most of our minds can't even go there. But let's just talk about the last 1,000 years. Okay. So that will put us at 1,000. What is this? 2024. So that will put us at 1024. Y'all ready for that? Y'all ready for this? Is that too far back? Okay, 500 years. How about that? 500 years, right? Has anybody here questioned? I'm curious about that. Has anybody here questioned how? You mean to tell me we was in horses and all this deep oppression, the witch hunts, which lasted about 400 years. What? I don't listen. What? I mean, witch hunts started in Europe in like the late 1300s and went on until the 1700s. What? Do the math. From the late 1300s into the 1700s. That's 400 years. Wait a minute. Okay, so that happened. And then chattel slavery happened from it's the records be lying so much, but let's just say 1600s to the late 1800s. We talking about, if we just add up those centuries right there, just those centuries, we talking about from 1400s to the 1800s. Vicious hanging, raping, lynching, killing, murdering, burning, pillaging. That's a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's just a 400. Are we talking about 14, 1500, 16, 17, a 400-year window, 400 years. Let that sink in for a minute. 400 years. Okay, now how old are you? You listening to my voice. How old are you? 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 Debbie said 55. How old are you? How old are you? Who else? How old are you? 22. In your 22 years, in your 55 years, in your 29 years, how much have we seen happen in 22 years? How much have we seen happen? How much has happened? A lot, right? Let's just do the math, just a real quick math. Okay, the first real estate for those of this generation, let's say Gen X. Let's go Gen X back to, from Gen X down. We have been alive to see the first real estate crash in 2008. Were there any others in the 70s? No. Were there? I'm not aware. The first big real estate crash in 2008. How about before that? Remember what Y2K? Remember AOL online dating started, and if you was online dating, you was desperate, loony, weird. Were you a part of that? Who was that? Who was that? Debbie. Debbie's 55. Debbie, were you right? So before there was, what is this they got up now? These date naps. Before you had all this, you could AOL date. You could AOL. Don't nobody even have AOL now. But this is the point I'm making about Y2K. Whoever that was here who was 22 years old, y'all don't even know nothing about Y2K. Y2K is when the year 1999, before 2000 hit. Y'all remember when the world went crazy back in 1990? No, that was, I'm sorry, my bad, E40. That's when he was talking about the crack days when crack went hot in the 80s. But they were like, what was that song? Basically, in 1999, the world went crazy. Remember Kings of Comedy? Bernie Mac was like, remember when it was 1999? White motherfuckers told y'all and y'all got scared and went and got water. Y'all was scared the earth was ending, and white people had y'all thinking the earth was going to end, and you bastards ran out and got all that water. So for whoever's here who said they 22, you wasn't even here for that. Girl, the whole world thought that the world was going to end. Folks was stocking up, like how during COVID, everybody was getting tissue. Girl, it was like that in 1999. Folks was stocking up on water, bean, canned goods, all kind of shit, okay? Now that's 24 years ago that happened. 20 years ago. 2000, right? Then real estate hit in 2008, okay? That now if you younger, you don't know about that. But in 2008, it was the big real estate crash. Right, spiritually. We know we talking about. We know, of course, spiritually, there's always a death all the time. We know that, right? But then the real estate market crashed, right? And the market just man, that was a major catastrophe for the world, really, because it was so linked to the financial markets. And there was so much scheming and so much fraud, and this was linked to this, and these banks were linked to this, and it just crashed the financial markets globally in many ways. And a lot of people who were financially well off. And then what about the dot-com bomb? Right? All of this happened. I'm creating some context to make a long ass point. And then 9/11. Actually, 9/11 happened in 2001, right? Yeah, that was girl. 9/11 happened in 2001. Child, you see that? Y'all remember that? Planes hit two buildings. Two tall, big ass buildings in New York City. Just big old planes. Boom! Some shit out of a movie happened in real life. Changed the direction of this country. Before that, you could travel to places like Mexico and shit without a passport. You could do all the traveling without a passport to different countries. Before that, you could show up. All the security we got, they didn't have that. You could show up to the airport, shit, 30 minutes before your flight sometimes and get on. I mean, talk about the looseness before 2001 hit. Now we got this TSA. We got, if you get to the airport at the last minute, they might want to frisk you 25 times. If you look Middle Eastern, listen, they got dogs coming to smell your bags. All of that happened after 9/11. Before that, girl, okay, so that happened. Then Instagram hit the scene. Facebook hit the scene. Facebook hit the scene in what, 2007, 6? Facebook hit the scene. I know it's all, but remember when there was no Facebook? Y'all forgot about that. Facebook hit the scene. Girl, then remember when Instagram hit the scene? It was like, oh my God, pictures. Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, what can we do with the pictures? And Then remember when you can start advertising on Facebook? If you're not in business, you bet. But you can start advertising on Facebook and people, what? MySpace. Remember MySpace? Oh my God. I never got into MySpace, but I know so many people who met lovers on MySpace, who created music and got known through their music on MySpace. Remember MySpace? All it is, we just talking about the last 24 years. Please remember, we just talking about the last 24 years. I'm going somewhere with this. Then what? Pinterest came, girl, and the ladies fell in love, girl. Pinterest came and just. Then, girl, TikTok came. Girl, TikTok came and rocked motherfuckers' world. Now, it started off as the children's app. It's for the children. But then so much else has happened. What else has happened, y'all? So much has happened. What else? Tell me. I feel like something happened in 2011. Did something happen in 2011? It's been so much. Oh my God. Trump came. Trump was like a movie, right? Oh, Barack came, the first black. What? All the old black people who showed up like, we have a black president. I never thought I would see it in my lifetime. I'm telling you, who remembers where they were and what they did the night Obama won? Who remembers what they did and where they were when it was announced that Obama won? Who remembers? I remember. I was at my mama's house. We was all watching. Of course, the whole damn world was watching. Black man about to be potentially about to be. What? Girl, we was glued to the TV. It was an event. Me, my sister, my mama, all of us glued, watching. Oh my God. Girl, he got a black wife, black children, and a black wife who looked like a black wife. What? Paul Mooney was like, Barack got that black wife with that big old ass. Girl, listen, all of these black people talking about submission, there was nothing about Michelle that said submission, did it? Tall attorney coming out, girl with authority, but still like with her man. Girl, when I tell you they announced that Barack won, the level of, girl, we went out. The streets was lit. The streets was lit. Everybody was celebrating. Of course, the ones who were celebrating. Now, there's plenty of people who was big mad. But girl, all the bars was open. Folks was driving down the street, loud music, singing. Everywhere you went, people was smiling, laughing, high, pleasant. Everywhere that night. And everybody went outside. Because it's like everybody wanted to be like, isn't this amazing? We're progressing in life. The earth is becoming what we always knew it could be. Oh my God. Remember that? Girl, we was out. Girl, we went dancing that night. Girl, it was lit. So a black man became president in the last 24 years, and we saw plenty of black folks who in wheelchairs at his campaign rallies, 70s, 80s. The news went out the night he won, and them saying, we just are so amazed to see this in our lifetime. Y'all saw that on the news? All them old black people. Oh, we just so proud, just amazed to see this in my lifetime. Y'all saw that? Again, we talking about the last 24 years. We talking about the last 24 years. What else? What else? Trump came and threw this shit wild. Right? He came and a whole new leaf. TikTok came and what we talking about the last 24 years. Now, I said earlier that For 400 years, the amount of brutality across continents, the level of brutality across continents, Europe, all through Europe, here, Africa, the amount of slavery, lynching, killing, murdering, theft, etc. for 400 years. And that could go on for 400 years. Yet in 24 years, all the change that has happened. Perspective here. How? How is this able to happen? How's this able to happen? Anybody want to take a jab at that? And so much more to come. Part of the reason why people are so like, oh my God, because they don't know what's going to happen next. Because stuff is changing so fast. But for 400 years, and I'm just talking about 400 years, there's plenty we could go to. But for 400 years, that was it. How? Somebody said adaptation. Somebody said evolution. I'm going to tell you why. Technology and connection. Technology and connection. See, we live with technology today like it's just a normal, it's just right because it has become normal. But my grandmother, your grandmother, at 40, 30, 20, she was living her life. She didn't know nothing about these what's going on with these other families unless it was on the news. She didn't know nothing about what was going on in Gaza and Pakistan and London and Paris and unless it was on the news. She didn't know nothing about domestic violence and just all the shits that we talk about. We just get on TikTok and talk about all of these women who got pregnant by their stepfather. Do you think your grandmother, when she was 30 years old, just knew about thousands of women who got pregnant by their stepfather? Who knew about what was going on in Gaza? Who knew about all the things that we know about because we on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and because we get to see some 7-year-old in London. Y'all saw that clip of that 7-year-old girl who was mad because the ice cream was overpriced in London or somewhere in Britain. She was like, yeah, yeah. And it was meant to be funny, but we wouldn't have known that if it wasn't on no social media. So now the way disconnection, right? Because there was no social media to connect us. There was no talking about what's going on in our personal experiences, the way I could just be here on TikTok right now and talk about this and all the people like Hope. Hi, Hope is on live talking about what she got going on, showing you this, and that, and that, and that. Where before you thought it was just you, not you, but your grandmother, right? Just the way it is. That's why for 400 years we can have that kind of pillage and theft and because you're just in your own little town where, well, it's just how it is. And where do you go? What do you do? The way we just up and get on planes now. This is what I mean by how technology has us like in a whole other reality. You want to leave? What do? You go make money, find a way, because now online everybody can make money. You save up your money and you move. Y'all great grandmamas wasn't doing that. Women wasn't doing that in 17, 18, 1900. I mean, it was possible, but extreme conditions would drive a woman to do that if she did it. So I say that to say for the folks who are Gen X and older, right? Why I said we can't judge. How are you 55 and you ain't figured this out? Or even if you are 55 and you feel shame, embarrassment, too old because, man, I have not been able to figure this thing out. Well, we wasn't talking about magic on the internet 20 years ago. We wasn't talking about sexual trauma on the internet 20 years ago. Maybe in some small AOL group chat. Maybe a little bit on something else, but we wasn't talking about it. So to really start to get into what it takes to move through, most of y'all, you equate physical pain with I'm going in the wrong direction, I need to stop. Physical pain, which will occur on your level up with, okay, this is wrong. Who here either is currently or have quit because you were creating a new reality? But even beyond creating a new reality, you were looking to up your way of being. Okay, this is okay. Hold on. Hold on. I want to talk to melanin dominant women right now. So if you're not Black, this may or may not be in service to you. It will in some way, but right now I'm talking directly to melanin dominant women. For those of us who, uh, there's a, yeah, ooh, a great number of people worldwide believe melanin dominant folk to be naturally inferior. So that's been baked into the unconscious of humanity for a long time. The same way there's a collective feeling and the collective thought around which, okay, question where that comes from. Where, how, huh, what? Now, if you have the knowledge around it, then you already know. Or even Christianity. Like, how did Christianity become a thing? Because we know it wasn't here at the beginning of humanity. Like, anything that's dominant, how did it become dominant in the unconscious mind of humanity? How did it get there? This unconscious belief, and that's so nuanced, of the programming, right? Because there's the programming of melanin dominant folk are inferior, but then there's the spiritual, the deeper, because remember, programming has to be asserted by man. There's another awareness, collective conscious, that's deeper, that is baked into the fabric of humanity. First of all, did y'all catch that? So there's the program, right? The program of any Christianity, racism, witch. There's the programming of who you're told what that is, right? So meaning before witch hunt trials, before women were demonized, before power, like true full feminine power was demonized, the feminine was revered. Okay. Goddess, temples of love. You read the eternal aspect of the feminine to learn more about this. The eternal aspect of the feminine, you can find it on Amazon. Where there were literal women who dedicated their lives to love. And they would be called they call them brothels today. It's another way that they demonized true love versus transactional love. And it's one of the ways that they kept crime at bay and quelled male aggression. Because with goddess temples, even a poor man could go and give a meager whatever he had to offer to be able to be in the presence of a woman. Now keep in mind, these women dedicated themselves to love. Now today this sounds very woo woo and fluffy. You see what I mean? Because we have so demonized love that doesn't have to be earned. We have so demonized a woman being plump, full, loving indiscriminately. Go ahead, plush player. Go ahead and put your predictable questions and thoughts out there so we can handle it. Okay. And so this is why a woman today, the women in the room already know this. Before you were hurt by a man, before you started putting up all these boundaries and doing all of this shit that you feel like you need to do now to interact with men, weren't you just cool, right? You can hang around, you would give, you would cook, you would love, you would care, but it wasn't until you realize that when you just give, which is what we would do naturally if we weren't so afraid of being played, being taken from, being, whatever, ending up 10 years later, starving, lost, right? Do the women want to say something about this? I know I'm not off on this, but women chime in here. Hey, wellness. So women love indiscriminately. We love. The only reason women put up boundaries now, and we got to do all of this, self-interest stuff, is because, oh God, I'm sorry that this is what it is. Um, the true feminine has been so demonized. Like, just love that doesn't have to be, prove to me you're worthy of love and prove to me, and all of that shit is the distortion created. Anyway, don't have me start opening up knowledge books. Okay. So, wow. Okay. I'm supposed to be with my ladies in less than an hour. I've opened up the box. Okay. Let me see how I can condense. It used to be simple, and all these rules apply. And it used to be even simpler. Anyway, so I use the whole goddess temples and the witch consciousness because it's familiar. Now, what we're living in now, you gotta have context. What we're living in now is so many of the untruths about race are coming. Untruths about everything is coming up. I'm just focusing on race for the context of this conversation of the programming collective unconscious is that melanin dominant folk are naturally inferior. Okay. And so what's happening now, we see so many melanin dominant women are waking up. And it's a whole vortex. My God, it's just such a vortex globally, right? Melanin dominant women are waking up, and because I work in this domain, I'm having conversations that they're not yet on the internet. Some are, it just really depends on where you are tuned in, but they're happening in these sort of reserved ways, or they're not happening at all. Okay. And there is a particular power that melanin dominant women have. And what's in the way of so much of it is our lack of skill and our emotionality. And dealing with people, whoever the people are, the people in our lives, strangers, etc., and their own unconscious mind reacting to us in any situation, at work, on the internet, a client at Target, a friend's friend. And so connecting this to our level up. In this context, when I say level up, I mean having the capacity to allow the power that is only in melanin dominant woman and man to emerge and come out in your talk, your decision making, how you live your life. And the physiological reaction or experience when you're on that path. Okay, before I go further, is this making sense? And I'm gonna have to go in like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I would like to stay, but I have to be with my ladies in less than an hour. The more we connect, the more the more we connect, the more the program is shut down. Correct. Yes. Okay. So y'all with me so far? Everything no bomb is okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So in connecting this to what happens in the body and the mind, okay, this is a coherent experience. It happens in the mind and in the body, specifically for melanin dominant women. I'll be very curious to hear what men are doing with themselves, melanin dominant men, what they are doing with themselves. I'm telling you, these are some quiet backdoor conversations that need to be had in a room, not on social media, because folks be talking different on social media. Get in a room. Let me smell you, you smell me. Let me touch your body, you touch mine. All of these conversations on a fucking TikTok live, no. Okay? I'm starting it here, but we continue in person. So while the whole world has the programming as well, okay, about we are naturally an inferior being, we also, many of us, have internalized this belief system. So what's happening when we are leveling up, in whatever ways we are leveling up, is not only are we dealing with natural things, natural or normal, just the fear of peacocking, if you will, of breaking out of what's normal. We're also dealing with the same thing that everybody else is dealing with as the person that the programming has been against, right? You're a melanin. So the teaching, the baked in into everything, everywhere. This shit is wild. Baked in everywhere. Media, conversations, everybody's deep mind, including yours, that you're a naturally inferior being. So then when you call yourself leveling up, you're hitting something that is putting you into contact with all of humanity. And what does that do to a mind? What does that do to a body? Okay, so spiritual warfare. You all are familiar with this word. And the hard that my client, and woman in my community, is talking about right now in her leveling up, it's so hard. She used the word resistance. There's so much resistance. Okay. And what is true and what is the program? What is true and what is the program? So let's go here. Who here, in your experience with your leveling up, in whatever way leveling up looks like for you, you know that you are God. You know that you are here to rule. You know that you are part of the overseeing of humanity. Who here has had that in their experience, but it feels ridiculous? Ridiculous. 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 We already got yeses and me's and hand raises and okay. So that happens on a mental level, in the mind. What happens in your body? What happens in your body? How does your body feel? Especially if you're a man and you're here. What happens in your body? If you're a melanin dominant man, what happens in your body? I want to hear from the women too, but what happens in your body? Uncomfortable. What else? Uneasy. Makes you have to start listening to it more. What else? Who here feels like they have to lay down a lot? Who here feels nauseous? Who here feels like they want to be violent? Who here starts to feel what could be labeled as demonic? Who here wants to have rough sex? When you're in this leveling up and you're feeling this discomfort, this like war going on between what you know it's in your whole being versus what's going on in your unconscious mind. And when you really, because this is all unseen, it's invisible and it's happening inside, but there's physiological and mental reactions based on what's happening inside in the spiritual world. I have to lay down all the time, fatigued, very sleepy. I've struggled with narcolepsy, so I can't tell the difference sometimes. Okay, so that's a different dynamic. That's a very niche conversation that's worth having if you are connected to everything else that I'm sharing here. Very niche and worthy conversation to be had. Okay. So I'm giving voice to this. So everybody here who struggles with this, you can see that you're not alone, that this is very much a thing. Okay. And then, so that's one element of it. And then there's okay, so that's private, right? All of this is happening by yourself, private. You're fatigued, sleepy, laying down. That's you by yourself, right? That's one element of the leveling up process. And then you getting through that. So, first of all, hopefully, what you see right here that you're not alone is it helping you get through it. Another thing to help you get through successfully in your level up as a melanin dominant person who's here to rule and not quit is, and I love this so much for all of us, you need to truly accept that your ways are the right way. Your ways are the right way. Even your errors are correct. Even your errors are correct. You have to accept that. Here's a caveat. When you are consciously walking the path, when you are sincere about leveling up, because you are truly here to do your work in the world, even your errors are correct. If you just willy-nilly out here on some I don't give a fuck shit, you just, you know what I mean? You want some, you setting yourself up for some debt, bitch. Okay? You setting yourself up for some debt. And you know when your intent is pure. You know. Even if the intent is pure and you end up doing some fuck shit, that is correct. Because you're going to lay down with that, you're going to glean the knowledge from it, and you're going to come better and correct next time. So that's another way you move through this and not quit. Also, meaning when you're fatigued, don't judge it. I think that was Hope who said fatigued, and I've experienced that too, and I know other people have too. Let yourself lay down and accept that this is part of my way. This is difficult. I'm melanin dominant. I'm doing something here that almost none of us have ever done or ever will do. It is difficult, and you can get to the other side. I stand as a testament. And the women in the women community stand as testaments going through the same thing right now. Now, that was private. Okay, that was private right there. What about when you actually come out into the world and you feel and see and experience people reacting to you in these uh, involuntary ways? Who here has dealt with that? Where people have these reactions to you and it almost seems like they can't help themselves, right? They snap, they can't help themselves. They give you a certain snarl look on their face. And then if you say it, not a mean way, but like you're frowning. You're so, oh, I just was trying. I don't know. Right? You notice their mood shifts suddenly when they start interacting with you. You notice that they seem to be trying to make things difficult in a situation where difficulty is not necessary. They are having a hard time with your presence when you're consciously choosing to stand in the truth of your power, especially when you're new to this, right? You're in an environment where it's business, where you look hella good, where you feel hella good, where, okay, and then how do you move through that without doing what you normally do, which is, who here want to talk about what they normally do? There's two sides, play small and like pull back because people and there's a place for that. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean like hide and all that, but there's a way that you see that they're acting a certain kind of way, and you just want to get done what you want to get done. So you appeal, yeah, not appeal. Mm, there's a word for this. You basically play to them. You play to them. You manipulate the situation in a way that's advantageous to you, so you can appease. That's it. Thank you, Candace. Appease. So then the other side to it is becoming snappy. That's the other side, right? Like, who's guilty? Yeah. Bitch, handle your. Anybody here guilty of that? Like becoming overly forceful to be like, bitch, you ain't making me, bitch. And then it's like your highness and your ego is not refined in that moment. So then you start your behavior is like that. Even your errors are correct. Context. We living out here in a world that this shit is off its rocker. It is blessed for you to even be doing this work. It is blessed for you to even notice that somebody's unconscious behavior has entered you two's interaction, or even if it's a group. You can feel, you can see that their unconscious involuntary behavior has entered the interaction, and you choose to interact with them in a way that is not hostile. It's not, disconnected or dismissive, but it gives them an opportunity for them to stand and get used to and skilled even being in the presence of a melanin dominant God in front of them. What a gift. Like perspective. Because you could just, right? I could just appease you and go on about my life. And you you gain no skill. Fuck you then. Go on then. Because you're gonna meet another one of me somewhere, somehow. I just put that on there to just this is significant what you're doing here. Like this is significant. So to move through, that's one way to move through it. And I want to say compassion, but there's another angle to this that is hmm, it's so many. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. I'm gonna go soon. Does anybody so let me wrap up because I need to send links. Send links. I gotta go. One, get good with going through this difficulty, whether you're melanin dominant or not, and commit because there's something very specific for you to do. And in this case, specific meaning the ridiculous vision, dream that's been put on your heart and soul. And that's what we're getting ready to talk about with my women at 5 o'clock today inside the women community. I'm ready to see ridiculous dreams be brought to life, including my own. I'm just, oh my God. And I want y'all to know. So, hold on. So, one, always ask yourself when it feels really hard, what will it look like on the other side of hard? What will it look like? What will my bank account look like? And maybe bank account ain't got nothing to do with it for you. It does for me. What will my bank account look like on the other side of hard? What will my actualized vision look like on the other side of hard? Who needs to be in my life? That was another conversation that started, and I didn't let it come to the front here. But when you really dedicate in this way, you start calling in the people that are necessary. So one, what does it look like on the other side of hard? Two, don't quit because you will corrode your self-trust. You will corrode your faith in the future. Your self-respect will decrease. Don't quit. Don't quit because all that's going to happen. And then you're going to be stuck. You're going to be wasting time. That's two. Number three, as a melanin dominant being with a ridiculous, and the only reason why I say it ridiculous is because the world that we live in. I don't see it as ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's just because the world that we live in and the dominant consciousness about who you actually are and the farcity, the lie of it all. Keep that in mind that the world, at its deepest level, it knows, but it is at such war with the programming in its own mind. I'm talking about the collective of humanity. Is at such a war with the programming of its own mind that it doesn't even know how much you are its savior. It doesn't know. Listen, remember that. And you're not going to do this alone. So get that up. So this is what I want to say in closing. I am certain that everyone here lacks mastery with being in relationship, close relationship with people who are also at mastery levels where there is a cohesion and a working together to bring forth your ridiculous vision. What am I talking about? Because what is required of anybody here who has a ridiculous vision, it, it's unrealistic, but it beats, it's for you to do in your lifetime. The level of lack of emotions was coming up, but it's not lack of emotion. It's high level skill with your emotion, where it appears like you're cold and emotionless, but it's not that. It's that you're so skilled with not being governed by your emotions. You know how to use an emotion to take you where you want to go. And when you're in relationship with people as a melanin dominant person, and you're calling in the people, the resources, etc. Part of that process is there going to be people who are going to enter your world who are not at the same level of commitment and willingness on the path to maturing. So to them, first of all, you're going to look cold and emotionless and heartless. But then also, they're going to fall off naturally because it's part of you interacting and being in the full contact of life. Okay. And you're also going to be interacting with yourself. Remember when I said earlier about the whole world has been programmed that melanin dominant folk are naturally inferior? You have internalized some of that too, which is what part of the war is. So when you are refining your emotions, And if you feel called this way, I recommend you come into one of my offerings. When you are interacting with your own unconscious mind and you are engaging in those errors that I talked about, where even your errors are correct, there's a way where you have your error and then you're going to go home and recall the error, reconcile it, deal with it, and whatever way you deal with it, so that you come back pure, true, ready for the next error, so that you continue to actualize this ridiculous vision. This whole process, which is so emotional, so spiritual, so physiological, so painful, is required. And you can see that this is not something you're going to do sustainably by yourself. And of course, like, you don't want to. It's difficult. You need to. You need. Okay. I like to have these kind of conversations privately because anybody can watch me here who's not really serious, right? Like anybody who's on TikTok can watch me. It doesn't mean anything, really, ultimately, right? Because action matters, embodiment matters, work matters. But it's so important because, look, clearly I'm melanin dominant. I'm female. I have a ridiculous vision. It doesn't it doesn't coincide with what we are told. Oh, people of this stature, of this whatever, do these things. And yet it doesn't quit. Anybody here? That's their experience. It doesn't quit. Hardship doesn't kill it. Being called delusional doesn't kill it. My own unconscious mind doesn't kill it. And I realize how much of me and people who are with it, and how much authority is required on my part. Authority. And standing in that authority while people kick and scream, while people do crazy shit, while my own unconscious mind, me interacting with myself, me, the fatigue, all of this. So I share this whole live stream with you today so you can see people's comments, so you can have your own experience and recognize, one, you're not alone, two, what I've shared with you to do, and that you're constantly remembering this as you're moving through hardness, and your body is having responses, your mind is having responses. And this is another reason why we have the woman community. As the woman said today, I'm so glad I have this space to help me get through this. She said, because historically, I just run. I run and hide. I've been guilty of that. I just quit. I just run and hide. I just run and hide. And I'm so glad I have this. This shit is what you're doing, particularly as a melanin dominant woman, is incredibly rare when you have always been, you're really doing something of a high spiritual nature. You know, like one woman said, if it was up to me, I would keep hiding. You're really rare to really embark. It's unusual. It's very unusual. So you need other unusual people in your corner who you can even make errors with, and you don't have to worry about them abandoning you. Because that's part of if I get close to them and they see, because in your coming out, in your development, and really standing more naturally in your highness, you're going to do things that are not cool. They're not friendly. They're not nice. The number of women who have been hanging around in my orbit for years and have done all kinds of things that are so uncool, and I let them hang around because I've had this experience myself, and I know that what we're doing, there's nowhere else in the world where women can go, melanin dominant women, and really develop this, what I'm talking about, and even the much, 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 much more that I'm not talking about publicly. The world is upside fucking down. And as I said many times, when melanin dominant men and women get in their fucking position and do what they came here for, you're going to have to navigate all this, what I'm talking about. And another thing is the fear of being killed. That's the other thing we're dealing with when we think we're just worried about evil eye and all that. A big part of it is worrying about being killed. I'm telling you, when you learn as a woman to take it up through your coaching, your puseta, and as a man, you need the right woman, period. You need the right woman, period. Y'all, that's a whole other conversation to be had. Uh, I've talked about it here. What the fuck, Nisi? And you don't want to know how. Do you really want to know how? You ready to invest? These kind of questions. What the fuck? Come on, how? Have you been working on it? Have you invested in a coach mentor programs? To my how? Let me tell you how right now. Then what you gonna do? People talking about how. You people don't even really be about it like that. What you gonna have some emotional reaction and leave? What you mad now? This is what I mean. Emotional refinement is important. So I gotta go. Um, uh, if you would like to thank me for today's live stream, you see my Cash App right there. YouTube, I'm out of here. Take good care of yourselves. And I'll say to YouTube right now, if you want to come into this woman community, we are restarting our womanhood initiation soon. You can go to the link in the description. TikTok is with the link in my bio. Go to the link in the description to get on the wait list for the womanhood initiations. And then there's another link down there too if you are what the page describes. Y'all take good care of yourselves.